There are movies that move fast, movies that cut, talk, explain, every second filled with noise. And then there's a ghost story, a film that dares to sit still, to let silence breathe, to make you notice the quiet, the space, the passing of time. At first glance, it looks like a ghost movie. A man dies, comes back under a sheet, and haunts the place he once called home. But it's not about death, it's about what remains when we are gone. The rooms we once filled, the echoes we leave behind. It's the kind of film that doesn't tell you what to feel, it just waits until you start feeling it on your own. It's a story about love, time, and memory. About how the world keeps moving even when we don't. The film opens with a couple. We don't even know their names. They could be anyone. Their home is small, quiet, full of little sounds. The hum of the fridge, the creak of the floorboards. It feels real, lived in. And then, one day, he dies. No build up, no tragedy score, just silence. When he returns, he's covered in a white sheet with two holes for eyes. It's almost funny at first, but as the movie lingers, that simplicity becomes something else, something haunting. The sheet turns into a symbol of grief, of absence, of the shape someone leaves behind when they're gone. Through that stillness, a ghost story does something most films don't even try to do. It slows down time until we can finally feel it passing. It reminds us that life isn't made of moments that move fast. It's made of the ones that stay, the quiet ones, the ones we never thought would matter until they're gone. It's easy to look at a ghost story now, poetic, meticulous, endlessly discussed, and forget that it wasn't made in some studio boardroom. It was made in secret. After finishing Pete's Dragon, a massive Disney production, director David Lowery felt detached, like he had lost touch with the kind of stories that once mattered to him. So he went back home to Texas, called a few friends, and wrote a ghost story in a week. They shot the entire film inside a single house in Dallas, with a skeleton crew, on a budget that could barely cover the catering of most studio movies. Lowery wanted to make something quiet, something human, the kind of story you'd whisper to yourself when no one's around. Even the ghost, that simple figure under a sheet, became a challenge. The crew tested dozens of fabrics, different weights and textures, until the sheet moved like something remembered, not performed. Underneath it, Casey Affleck stood for hours, motionless, isolated, communicating everything with stillness. Sometimes the sheet collapsed. Sometimes it caught too much light. Every wrinkle, every fold mattered. The result is something strangely beautiful. A symbol so simple, it feels eternal. Lowry also chose to film in a square aspect ratio to make the frame feel like an old photograph, a memory boxed in glass. The score, composed by Daniel Hart, grew out of a single song, I Get Overwhelmed, written before the movie even existed. The melody became the emotional skeleton around which the entire film was built. And maybe that's the secret. A ghost story wasn't designed to be seen by millions. It was made quietly, like a personal note about love, time, and loss. And somehow, the world listened. There's a scene in a ghost story that's become almost mythical. A woman sits alone on the floor, eating a pie. For nearly 5 minutes, nothing happens. No music, no dialogue, just grief. At first, it's uncomfortable. We want to look away, to move on. But the film won't let us. It forces us to sit with her, to feel what it means to lose someone so suddenly that the world itself stops making sense. She eats and eats and eats, as if feeling herself could replace what's been taken away. Behind her, the ghost watches, silent, helpless. It's one of the most honest portrayals of mourning ever put to film, because it doesn't explain grief, it just exists within it. The moment she lifts the frame, we realize something. She's ready to move on, but he isn't. After she leaves, time starts to move differently. Days blur into years, people come and go, new families move in. The ghost watches it all, silently observing the world change while he stays the same. The movie stops being about her and starts being about everything. About how the world doesn't wait for our grief to end. About how we think our lives are the center of something greater, but we're just passing through. There's a moment when the house is torn down, and even then, he remains, floating on an empty field, a relic of a life long gone. Through that image, a ghost story becomes less about a man and more about the haunting nature of existence itself. There's a moment deep into the film when time falls in on itself. A party. A man talks about legacy, entropy, the end of the universe, how everything we build will one day vanish. It's not nihilism, it's acceptance. Because if everything fades, then meaning isn't found in permanence, it's found in presence, in being here, now. The ghost listens silently, as if the universe itself is finally explaining what he's been trapped in all along. That life, it's not about staying, it's about being. And when he understands that, time starts to bend. The story falls backward. Centuries pass in moments. He sees the land before the house existed, before he existed. People live, die, and disappear. And for the first time, we see that he is not haunting a home, he's haunting time itself. Every version of this place, every echo of life, trapped together like layers of memory, until finally, he lets go, the sheet falls, and for the first time, silence feels peaceful. In the end, a ghost story isn't about death, it's about attachment. The ghost doesn't haunt a house because he's lost. He haunts it because he can't stop holding on. To love, to memory, to the idea that the moments he lived once mattered. We all do that. We cling to the places, the people, the versions of ourselves that no longer exist. But time asks us to let go, to trust that moving on doesn't mean forgetting, it means continuing. A ghost story finds meaning in smallness. It doesn't promise that we'll be remembered forever. It just asks us to remember now. Every laugh, every silence, every fleeting connection, they all vanish eventually. But while they last, they matter. And maybe that's enough. A ghost story reminds us that nothing truly stays. But maybe that's the point. Maybe that's why we build, why we love, why we tell stories. Because in the end, all we're really doing is leaving traces, small echoes in time, saying, we were here.